So what got me into it was I kind of always had an interest in combat sports growing up. Not, I suppose, just combat itself, as in. So we said, as you know, we all brothers and sisters growing up, but the old sibling, two brothers fighting, and just kind of well, we were mad at the WWE and stuff and the WWF, and we used to think that was real, the way when you were kids, and so we kind of always had an interest in that. And then when you're growing up, then um, you always suppose when you, as we all do, get into your little scraps and stuff. And I suppose maybe me and my brother thought about them more after they happened, then we had an interest, not in, obviously, but we weren't violent or anything, but we just, always having to go with each other, and so we always had an interest there growing up, and we dabbed in a bit of boxing, when we were growing up, and then just started mixed martial arts. And one of my friends in school, he was doing it, and he was like, oh, you should come along. I think he'd be good at, and he was like, you should come along, and I was like, sure, we'll try it out, because it was, as I said, I always had an interest in, buying DVDs of boxing and things like that, and he just said come along, so I tried it out, and first class, just went in with my friends, and they were telling me they were training every night of the week, and they were trained as months, and I went in with them, and at the end of the class, you do a rolling session, and I got them in an early headlock and was tapping them out, and I thought, like, oh, geez, the boys are training flat out. It must be all right if I've been catching these boys, but little did I know them when I kept going that they were only bluffing me, you know what I mean? They were only calling me bluff. They weren't even trained that much, but so I just kept going, and then I suppose just started to love it. Then when I was growing up, right, and all that, I could never concentrate, especially with things I didn't have an interest in, my mind to go wandering, and next minute I'm finding this that I had such an interest in, and it just intrigued me, and that was it then, really, just kept going.
I mean, even when looking at the sport itself, I mean, when you started training, I mean, you actually had in mind, even as a youngster, a young teenager, you did have in mind that at some point you do want to take this the training to. You've got a long amateur career and beneath your belt. You at the time when you were starting out, you did have the back of your mind that you do want to take this somewhere, and you do want to be competing professionally on a much more wider international stage, such as Bellator, where you're at now. And so far, you've got a really good record there. I mean, even then, you did want to pursue this as a long-term career.
Yeah, of course. As when I started, that wasn't because I started when I was 15, and that wasn't obviously the goal. I was still in school at the time, and I didn't, most 15-year-olds don't know what they wanted to do, and I played sports all my life, Gaelic football, as I said, dabbed in a bit of boxing, and it was starting a new thing. But as I said, I always had that interest in defending myself, and when I got into the fights growing up, I was probably the one that thought about them more. I was thinking about what I should have done and this and that, whereas most people probably just thought it was just, just a part of life, whereas I would have been thinking about it more, what should I have done, or, so just always, it was always in my mind, and that just, that intrigued me more, you know what I mean? It was, that always is like, I think a part of me, like, was always like, right, somebody is going to come and take something you want one day, or not even that, but like, as we all grow up as teenagers, that you have that kind of chip in your shoulder, and I always had that, like, right, if someone coming to take something off me, or to, not that anybody was, but if that makes sense, it was just like knowing that, right, I can defend myself, or at least put up a good fight. That was in my head, and that always was like my number one thing. Like, I always had my wits about me and growing up, and so that was kind of the number one thing that got me into it. And then I kept going, and some of the lads, my friends, were competing and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna have a fight, like, and sure, I might as well. I'm trained enough, like, and had a fight then, and then so that was it. Then I was like, oh, this is some buzz. Like, even after that, actually, after my first fight, I was knocked out in 26 seconds. I was picked up, body locked, slammed in my head and knocked like right in my head and my neck. And when I came back to myself in the dressing room after, the number one thing I thought, can't wait to do this again. Whereas most people probably were like, oh, geez, this isn't for me. I was mad to get back in, and a few months later, I ended up winning my second fight at amateur. But just all these things, thinking back, like, you know, I always had that kind of drive in me to, you know, I suppose I would have been very stubborn in that as well, you know. And then, as you said, talk about your question there, talking about a career of it. I mean, it just the more I kept doing it, the more it kept me in the straight and narrow growing up, and it was like, you know what, I'm loving this. As I said, I could never concentrate on anything, and here I am, you know, in the sessions, you know, loving it. I'm just wanting to learn about it, get, you know, getting on the internet, looking up as much as I can, watching this fight, that fight, and as well looking up to like the likes of my coach that was professional at the time, and not looking up to the, you know, the lads in the estate, or, you know, it was, they were the role, that was my role model, looking up to my coach instead of being out in the street. And so yeah, I mean, I can't talk about it enough, how much it done for me, and just fell in love with it basically, you know, and said I wanted to have a crack at it, like, you know.